The most powerful office in the world is not the President of the United States. Wait a minute. Isn't the President of the United States the leader of the Western world, the man with his hand on the nuclear trigger, the head of a many-trillion-dollar nation? The President is, indeed, arguably the most powerful man in the world. But the presidency is not the most powerful office in the world. Another office is more powerful because it chooses whose names will appear on the ballot for elective office and what will be the policies of the political parties that provide the majority support for those candidates. To understand why this office is so powerful, you must understand the 7 steps of government. Step number 1. To change things, you have to change the law. Are there things about our country you would like to change? Taxes, deficits, schools, crime, abortion, same-sex marriage, government funding of anti-social projects, government over-regulation of business? Are you satisfied with the way the present Congress is raising our taxes, spending our money, and reducing our liberties? Our Constitution makes Congress the most powerful branch of government. It can pass laws, impose taxes, and spend our money. State legislatures are a powerful tool, especially over public schools. So if you don't like the present policies, what are you going to do about it? Our Constitution gives us a way to remedy laws, policies, and taxes. Members of the House of Representatives in Congress and the lower house of each state legislature must run for office every 2 years. Step number 2. To change the laws, you have to change the people who make them. Congress and the state legislatures pass thousands of laws every year. No citizen or group can possibly read them all, research them to find out their effect in advance, or alert their friends to go into action with letter writing and phone calling campaigns. Congressmen and state legislators who have been elected by liberal and anti-family groups will not be very receptive to your messages anyway. So if you want to change the laws or taxes, you must elect representatives you can reliably count on to vote conservative and pro-family all the time. Step number 3. To be elected, your candidate must be on the ballot. How often have you voted for the quote-unquote lesser of two evils when you didn't like either of the two candidates running for an important office? How often have you wondered why, despite the rhetoric, both candidates seem to back the same anti-conservative, liberal, and anti-family agenda? How many times is a good conservative pro-family candidate not even on the ballot? Step number 4. To get on the ballot in a general election, you have to be nominated for an office in a party primary election or convention. The winners in the party primary or convention will be the candidates who appear on the ballot in November. Except in very rare cases, all candidates must first win a party primary or convention. Write-in campaigns are theoretically possible, but they have rarely succeeded. Third-party candidates are theoretically possible, but unless a candidate has as much money as Ross Perot or a Donald Trump, running as a third-party candidate probably won't be successful, and the votes may not even be counted or reported. Step number 5. Candidates endorsed by the party usually win the primary election. Most voters don't investigate the primary candidates or even find out who they are. Sometimes, many candidates run in the primary for nomination to the same office, and the voters are confused. Only a small minority of Americans vote in primary elections. One of the reasons for the small turnout in primary elections, in addition to voter apathy, is that you usually must declare yourself as a member of one party or another to vote in that primary. Primary election rules vary from state to state, but in most states, in order to vote in a primary, you either have to pre-register as a Republican or a Democrat, or ask for a Republican or a Democrat party ballot on primary election day. Most Americans don't want to do that. The result is that the persons nominated to be the Republican candidates on the ballot in the general election are chosen by those who are willing to declare themselves Republican in the primary or convention that selects the nominees. Sometimes the party organization actually endorses candidates in the primary election. Many voters who don't know much about the candidates vote for the endorsed candidate just because they are disposed to support the party's candidate. Step number 6. Primary endorsements are often made by the party's county committee or township committee, etc., which is elected by the precinct committeeman of the party. Each political party has a national, state, county, township, and in the big cities, ward organizations, usually called committees or central committees. The county and the township committees frequently endorse candidates in the primary, and that endorsement is often the key to a primary victory. The county chairman and the county central committee, or executive committee, is elected every 2 years, usually by the precinct committeemen, sometimes called precinct chairmen, who, in turn, are elected in their individual precincts. For instance, the chairman of the Madison County, Illinois Republican Central Committee is elected at a county convention of more than 200 Madison County Republican Precinct committeemen who were themselves elected on the ballot in the previous primary election. It's not necessary to have a majority of the precinct committeemen to influence the endorsement process. In a typical county where some liberals and some conservatives are, a majority will be party regulars who are interested in patronage and power and not issues. They can be influenced to support your candidate if you can persuasively show that he or she has a good chance to win. For party regulars, winning is the name of the game. It is sometimes easy to be appointed to one of these positions by calling your party chairman. Many precincts have do-nothing committeemen who can be easily defeated because they don't even do their job. So, in our quest to determine the most powerful office in the world, let's follow this sequence to its logical conclusion. To change things, we must change the laws. To change the laws, we must change the people who make them. To get elected, your candidate must be on the ballot. To get on the November ballot, you must win the primary. To win the primary, you must get the support of the people who make endorsements in the primary, who reliably vote in the primary, and who get out the votes of others in the primary. And those people are the precinct committeeman. Therefore, precinct committeeman is the most powerful office in the world because precinct committeemen determine who gets the chance to be elected to office at virtually every level of government. Remember, if your candidate is not on the ballot, he will not be elected. Party rules and titles may vary widely from state to state, but usually the two parties in a given state use the same system. Where Republicans are used, Democrat can be substituted. The term committeeman is an office, not a person, so it could be a man or a woman. Now let's look at the duties of the precinct committeeman. The precinct committeeman is the person who legally is charged with getting out the vote on election day. If he or she does not do the job well, they will pick another committeeman. But if you're a good committeeman, you will ring the doorbell of every household in the precinct and ask polite questions to find out the party affiliation and other political views of every voter. That's called canvassing. Then, before an election, the precinct committeeman will personally deliver campaign literature, such as a marked sample ballot, to every voter who is expected to vote for your party or candidate. Then the precinct committeeman makes sure that all of his voters get to the polls on election day. This is the way elections are won. Here are 4 quick powers and perks of being a precinct committeeman. Number 1, friendly access to neighbors. Most people are eager to know more about government and the people who run it. When you introduce yourself as their Republican precinct committeeman, they assume that you have something to say. You can provide them with the information on candidates and issues. Of course, you don't waste your time on those who would rather get their information from precinct committeemen of the other party. Number 2, respect from elected officials. Since a precinct committeeman represents on average 500 voters and has the power to vote for other party officials and to make endorsements of candidates, any call, letter, email, text, or social networking post from a precinct committeeman gets the attention of elected officials. Number 3, launching pad for other offices. You would be amazed at how many of our presidents, senators, congressmen, and state and local officials started as a precinct committeeman and still serve as precinct committeemen even though they hold higher elected office. That's because they know the power of a precinct committeeman. Number 4, direct influence over party platform, policies, and selection of candidates. At state, district, county, and township caucuses and conventions, the precinct committeeman is an active player. He or she can have a tremendous influence on the adoption of a party platform and policies, support or opposition to issues, and selection of candidates. So there you have it. The most powerful office in the world and the easiest office to win is the precinct committeeman.